Okay.
Hello and welcome to day 2 of proposals for the new global education program here at the LCB. Today I have the honor of introducing Tammy, Khadija, Brandon, Olivia, Orion, and MT of Team Horizon and their proposal for a global service hours program. Team Horizon, floor is yours.
Hello everyone. Before I came to the US, my first goal was to have as much American friends as I can. However, when I was a freshman, I had no American friends. And at the second year of my study life, my friends were all still Chinese. But now it's different. I have my lovely teammates, but only my teammates. So the first reason that comes to my mind is I haven't had the opportunity to communicate with American students.
This is the most typical and common way to interact with students in the classroom. We have two great resources here in LCB and on campus. One being international students, and two being clubs, their events and activities. We aren't tapping into nor are we taking advantage and utilizing these resources that we have currently within our own community. Therefore, we're proposing a program that will incentivize students to get involved outside the classroom and interact with other students. And we call this Global Service Hours. So a little roadmap of what we'll be talking about and an overview of what it is that we're trying to do. We'll start off with the situation analysis, where we'll discuss the significance of the interaction between students and the opportunities that are currently available in LCB. Next, we'll go into the limitations as we discuss what it means to overcome those limitations of overcoming cultural diversity and the limitations of the clubs that are currently here and available. And then we'll end off with a solution as we go into what the description of global service hours is, as well as how it will be managed, marketed, and achieved. And we'll end off with the cost.
So what's the current situation look like here at LCB? Currently, students are inclined to sit next to and interact with other students who look like them and have the same cultural similarities. A study done at Wilfrid Laurier University reinforced this idea and further noted that when we miss out on this opportunity, when we don't do this, we miss out on the opportunity to establish relationships from others that are different from ourselves and further our cultural competency. Currently, here at LCB, there are 847 international students, which makes up 20% of all of the student body in LCB. Due to this, our team feels that we can incentivize these students to increase interaction between international and domestic students and further their cultural competency skills. By doing this, by implementing our Global Service Hours program, we hope to make this impact.
So one resource that our campus currently has to offer is Global Scholars Hall. And our team met with Leah Andrew, who's the Director of Marketing and Communication for University Housing. And Leah informed us that Global Scholars Hall has 5 academic residential communities. Now, if you don't know what academic residential community, or ARC, is, it's a community where students can live together who have a shared common interest. The 5 ARCs in Global Scholars Hall are based off of language. There's one for Chinese, Japanese, French, Spanish, and German. These house both domestic and international students. The international students are from the country with that respective language, and the domestic students must be somewhat conversationally fluent in that language, whether that means they took 1 year of that language in high school, or someone in their family spoke that language and they learned it that way. GSH provides a great opportunity for students to come together, hang out, and learn about a culture that interests them. The problem is that there's not enough support to ensure that this interaction takes place. In fact, our team actually did a survey of students who lived in Global Scholars Hall but ended up moving out because they were unsatisfied.
This is the pie chart to why the international students move out from the dorm. And we can say that majority of the international students thought living dorm is so expensive. And 30% of them just face the roommate issues like cultural conflict, and minority of them thought is unsatisfied with their room size, and 20% of the international students live out of the dorm because they cannot cook for themselves.
Another program that our campus has to offer is the International Student Association, or ISA. Our team met with Brenda Coe, the president of ISA, to discuss the goal and the kind of events that they put on. The goal of ISA is to bridge the gap between domestic and international students, and also to expose international students to American culture. Now, Brenda explained that ISA events may not appear diverse, and this is because the international students attending are mostly from China or Japan, and the domestic students attending are mostly from Chinese or Japanese descent. So while you have both international and domestic students attending, it just may not appear diverse. And that's one of the biggest limitations, is that we have so many other cultures here on campus that could benefit from the great events that ISA holds, like their coffee hour, which is their most popular event. They hold that every week. About 150 students attend each week. They also had a Halloween dance, and both of these are great opportunities for students to come together, interact, learn about one another's cultures. But if we could get the many other cultures that this campus has to offer going to these great events that ISA holds, it would benefit everyone because it would make that interaction more diverse.
Now, those are all stuff that are offered outside of LCB. Those are within the entirety of campus. Focusing now more onto into the extracurricular activities here within LCB, there's a major trend that was actually found through the University of Arizona study that found that 11% of students who don't actually participate in clubs just don't feel like they're getting benefits from it. Within LCB, we have 18 different clubs, but only 3 offer any sort of international focus. That's IBEC, IBA, and the Samid Group. All 3 of these clubs are fairly small, roughly 40 to 55 people per club. And being a small club, you don't have the opportunity to get out and reach out to nearly as many students because you're just not thought of as important. Beta Alpha Psi is the complete opposite. They are a big accounting fraternity here within LCB with probably over 200 students involved. So these smaller clubs, these international focused clubs, they just aren't recognized, and they can't do much without any sort of incentive for students as well as themselves. The first club I'd like to talk about today is the International Business and Economics Club. We had met with 2 members of the executive branch, Emma Baker and Maggie Savay. They said there are approximately 45 members this year in IBEC. Within IBEC, they have bi-weekly meetings, which is for 1 hour every 2 weeks, which isn't a large time commitment, which makes this almost a very ideal club for students who would be participating in the Global Service Hours program. Within these club meetings, they have speeches and presentations from members from business professionals who have major international business backgrounds. Within these events, they give a speech and they have a Q&A session, but interaction among students just doesn't occur. However, the primary area that these interactions are more likely to occur are the social events and the site visits that IBEC holds every year. Tammy and I had actually attended one of the IBEC social events when we had met with 2 members of the executive branch. And just from basic observation and from what we were told by Emma, there was 1 international student there. Out of 35 students who were at Yogurt Extreme having a social event, there was 1 international student. Now, this international student was part of IBA, and this is a group that IBEC and many other clubs have tried to interact with and create larger social events with, but none of those have come to fruition. Speaking of IBA, that is the other club I would like to discuss today. They are fairly large, 54 members, but they're called the International Business Association for a reason. They're only international students. But even worse than that, they're not even diverse. They are purely Chinese international students. They don't have Saudi Arabian students, they don't have German students, they don't have British students joining. It's purely China, and that hurts a lot because IBA, if you're thinking international business, you're going to think every country that could possibly be there, not just one. And you would think that it's going to be focusing and it's going to be there to benefit all students, not just international students. In fact, IBA doesn't even allow domestic students to join. Hopefully that's going to be changing very, very soon.
So if you all completely missed everything we've just talked about, I want you to take away two key things. One, the lack of incentive for students to get involved, as well as two, being the no centralized place for opportunities being available and the information for students. We are proposing an optional program opportunity for students to get involved through incentivizing them with one, a certificate upon completion on graduation, and two, club membership discounts. In order to be eligible for this program, we require three things. One, being declaring a pre-business period, and two, being that a student will commit to at least 40 hours over the course of 2 years to get involved with club events, club meetings, as well as club opportunities. And then the last thing, in order to be eligible, is that we require students to get signatures from designated mentors that are within these clubs. This program is designed for busy students. We understand that students aren't always necessarily available to go to all club meetings or to do things that are outside of classrooms, but it provides an opportunity for students to get involved upon their own time, and to do so to design a way for them to increase their global competency skills.
So the overseer of our program is going to be Chris Bennett, and he's going to serve as our program director. Chris currently supports the career development of LCB clubs and student organizations. Chris is going to be the person that students bring their timesheets to upon completion of our program. We're also going to award students with certificates, and these are going to be considered diversity enhancement certificates and come from the diversity committee. We're also going to have mentors within our program, and these mentors are going to be students from each individual club or student organization. And the mentors are going to sign off on students' timesheets to ensure not only that students attended events, but that they were getting involved while they were there.
To market our program, we're going to have 5 different initiatives. The first being, while declaring pre-business majors, students will check a box signifying their interest in our program. From identifying these students, we'll tailor specific email campaigns to reach out to those folks that are interested in the program. Second, there'll be in-class announcements in all BA101 and BA352 courses. Third, there will be info sessions given every term where students can come and ask questions directly to the program director. And fourth, there will be flyers and media given out at all introduction sessions. And lastly, there will be students will get discounts on all clubs' dues and fees.
As the picture showing for here, our final goals is increase the interaction between international students, between domestic students and international students outside of the classroom. So how to meet these final goals? So we have 2 objectives. First, we want to offer more opportunity to students who have chance to get in the LCB club. And second, we want to give students more opportunity to attendance activity which made by the LCB club. But what is the specific number we will get? So for answer this question, we list many things it may relate on these questions. So we're doing some research about how many people in LCB, and we list several questions for our survey. So from data showing for here, we totally have 3,679 students in LCB, which include 18% domestic students and 20% international students. We are trying to make our surveys more reliable. So we are trying to make our surveys have the same percentage with the same percentage of international students and domestic students as actual percentage in LCB. Actually, we did that. So from our surveys, you can see we have around 71% is domestic students and 29% is international students. So this is our first objective, that we want to increase totally 21 students into LCB club by joining our program, which includes 15 domestic students and 6 international students. To calculate this question, we base on our survey questions, such as how many free time they have each week, and how many hours they want to spend on our program, and whether or not they want to join our program. Then this is our second objective. So we want to help the LCB club offer more high-quality activity together by giving them more budget. And we want to help the LCB club grow their levels, and we want to help the LCB clubs to invite more members in their club. Also, we want to bring clubs together. We want to bring LCB clubs together to have one same international focus by eliminate competition and increase cooperation.
So the cost of this, that's always the big important part. That is me tripping on the rug. We're not asking for a lot of money. In fact, we're asking for less than $10,000. A total of $8,064 is all we need for this program. So that's going to include club marketing budget of $1,800 for the 3 internationally focused clubs. Info session venues, once per term, $27 per term. Printing costs for all the media of $245. Club mentors, which is based on the new minimum wage of $10.75 for a maximum of 20 hours per term, based on the Pathway Oregon mentorship program. These numbers always the highest that it'll possibly be. Does not mean that will be what it will be. And finally, for our lovely new program director, Chris Bennett, we're asking just for a nice little increase of $4,000 per term per year to his total salary.
So right now, there's not enough intercultural interaction happening on campus. We have many different opportunities that have a multicultural focus, like the different clubs and student organizations. And we have so many cultures here on campus that could get involved. What Global Service Hours will do is provide an organized and centralized way for students to have access to this information. Once they have access to this information, they can start getting involved, interacting, making friends, and learning about a culture that interests them. Through this interaction, they will gain soft skills that they will be able to use later in life. At this time, we would love to hear if you guys have any questions for us.
So the global service hours will be available to pre-business as well as college business students?
Yes.
Okay.
What other questions do you have?
Yeah.
So how many students approximately are you aiming to reach with this program?
We are approximating, for the first year, 21 students, 7 new students per club. Very low number, yes, but it's for 3 specific clubs in mind, so we don't want to have an excessive amount of numbers to fairly small clubs, especially in the first year. As the years go by, it's going to hopefully increase more and more.
Are you planning to spend $8,000 on the 21 students, or is that going into the future?
That's going into the entire program.
Alright, and how many students do you plan on having at the end of the program?
Well, so we got our numbers, so we want 21 students within the first year. And we didn't really set a goal for years after that, we just know that the program is going to grow from there on out. And we got our 21 students based on a survey that we did, asking students, how much free time they have, if they would want to do this, and questions like that. And then that's how we got our 21 students for that first year. And then our costs aren't going towards those 21 students, they're going towards things like the program director, printing costs. They're not going towards the students, it's more like the program as a whole.
And then I also like to add, the cost also accounts for, because we're paying clubs, that accounts for the current members that are already there as well. So it's really targeting way more than 21 students. We're just helping the students that are currently in LCB. So therefore that's a really broad range, just hundreds of students, that this is like $8,000 is really covering for to increase that.
So you guys said that one of your objectives was to eliminate competition. Do you hope that, are you hoping that by starting this that eventually you will disband, like the other clubs will disband, and it'll just be this one?
When we say eliminate competition, it's kind of taking words from our interview and meeting with Emma Baker and Maria. they had talked about how clubs, especially now, aren't very large because they're competing with one another to try and get their students in, to try and increase their level in club membership. By saying a limited competition, we're meaning that we still want clubs to try and reach out to get more students, but we want these international focused clubs to still be working together to like create a new global education extracurricular that isn't really new, but that allows students to participate in this global education and extracurricular activities within that.
So just as a follow-up question, like what really sets you apart that's going to convince other clubs that you're more important, or like convince people that your club's more important than any of the other clubs?
Well, if there was any confusion, our program is not a club, it's more of a program. Global Service Hours is going to be an optional program that students can join, and once they're in that, then they can take advantage of all of the options of different clubs and different student organizations. So ours isn't a club on its own, it's a way for students to have access to information of all the clubs that are open to them and student organizations, because we just thought that there wasn't one centralized place to have that information with clubs that have an international focus. So once they're in the Global Service Hours, they're going to have access to all that information, and then they can join those clubs, and this is just a way to incentivize them to do that.
And they get discounts on club dues and fees. They also are able to obtain certificates, and from there they could, throw that on their resume to, enhance their resume, showing that, hey, look, I've spent this time interacting with other cultures, and I've learned so much in doing that.
It's kind of like we're serving as the mediator, basically, in a sense.
Local Service Hour is a program to help students develop the soft skill and create the interpersonal relationships through extracurricular activities, coming and create the relationships and interact with people from a different culture, and by participating in those events and clubs. We all need your help to make this program a reality. Thank you.